Hey everyone, Skull902 here. Surge the Tenrik and Kitsunami the Fennec. On the surface, they're just a couple of rivals for Sonic and Tails, but their story goes much deeper, to the point I believe they've been given some of the best storytelling and characterization the Sonic franchise as a whole has seen. From their first proper appearance in Sonic IDW number 46, these two have easily been the best thing about the comic by a country mile, genuinely improving the series each time the focus is on them. Their story touches on subjects that Sonic usually doesn't get into, especially in recent years, and it's made for some really interesting stuff. Before we begin, I do want to point out that even though I might be talking about mental health and illnesses in connection to these characters, I am by no means a medical professional, and this video shouldn't be taken for anything other than entertainment and story critique. With that out of the way, why do I think these are two of the greatest characters in the Sonic series? Stay tuned and I'll tell ya. Let's start with some behind-the-scenes stuff because their creation is just as interesting as their characterization. Created by Ian Flynn and designed by Evan Stanley and Mauro Fonesca, both were visually inspired by palette glitches in the Sega Genesis games, much like Scourge in the Archie comics, Surge also taking inspiration from Android 18 and the prototype Blaze the Cat, and Kit taking inspiration from Klonoa 2's King of Sorrow. Species-wise, Kit's a little less original, being a fennec fox. First in official Sonic media from what I'm aware, but definitely common enough in fan circles. Surge, on the other hand, is a Tenrik, a rodent similar to hedgehogs that, until being introduced to the character, I didn't even know existed. Now I know the confusion North Americans felt about hedgehogs when the Sonic series first debuted. Their powers and abilities were also chosen to reflect their rivals, Surge's electricity coming about from Tails' sphere of lightning, and Kit's hydrokinesis as a reflection of Sonic's inability to swim. A lot of thought went into these two, and that'll become apparent as we get through their story so far. We can't talk about Surge and Kit's origins without mentioning Dr. Starline, a fanatic turned dissenter of Eggman who, quite frankly, I think is one of the worst written characters in the comic as he represents some glaring missed opportunities. But that's a story for another video. The one redeeming quality about Starline's writing, in my personal opinion, is that he's responsible for turning Surge and Kit into what they've become. What are their origins? Hell if anyone knows. Starline forcibly kidnapped them, wiped their memories, cybernetically enhanced them, and repeatedly made them forget everything they knew and molded their personalities time and again to program them to become his personal super soldiers. If you think that's fucked up, that's only because it is. Using the power cores, Starline bestowed Surge and Kit their abilities. For the former, she was given her electricity, the speed of Sonic and Shadow, and the strength of Metal Sonic. The latter was equipped with a hydro pack to aid his newfound control of water, along with possessing the intellect of Tails. And both were given the healing factor of Wolverine. Sounds like a good package of powers, but Starline felt the need to keep them in check, doing so by deliberately programming flaws into their mental state, and this is where things get both really dark and really interesting. Surge was molded into holding an extreme obsessive hatred of Sonic, making her impulsive and prone to anger. Kit, meanwhile, was molded to aid Surge by any means necessary, and for him, that meant deeply rooted dependency and insecurity. Surge's tendencies eventually lead to them turning the tables on Starline and rebelling against him, learning what he did to them and then erasing his memories to gaslight him for betrayal later. It comes to a head in a fight with them against Sonic and Tails, the latter realizing Kit's plight and almost getting through to him before it becomes evident Surge is in danger, and the former trying to convince Surge that freedom and helping people out are pretty cool things in a speech that got severely overblown by one section of the fanbase, but again, that's a story for another video. Kit's knocked out and Surge presumed dead by our heroes after taking the L and falling into a death pit of broken robots, respectively. Their story very easily could have ended there, but it didn't, and I'm glad that's the case because things only get deeper from here and it's fantastic. After the battle, Sonic and Tails take Kit under their wing. In a move that would end up biting him in the ass later, the former decides to be upfront with the Fennec about what he thought was the truth behind Surge's fate. Kit, for his part, transferred his loyalty and dependency onto Sonic. Surge, meanwhile, not only survived, but stole Eggman's new prototype, the Dynamo Cage, which gave her powers a significant boost at only the small price of looking completely ridiculous. However, being used and abused the way she was turns out to have brought about unresolved trauma, and the hyperactivity of her power boost produces hallucinations of Dr. Starline that cut her down hard. Her focus is on a rematch with Sonic, and that takes her to Central City, where the Tenrik tussles with Whisper the Wolf, another character who's got plenty of emotional baggage to be studied. But that's a story for another video. Surge takes the Wolf's wisps and uses their powers, fighting with Sonic and Tails to the basement of a hardware store and overloading herself to the point of being rendered unconscious. Meanwhile, Kit catches news of the goings-on and, concerned for Sonic's safety, goes into tranquil fury mode, attacking Belle when she tried stopping him. This is an important detail about the character, and I'll get into why later. Kit arrives on the scene and, discovering Surge was alive, is none too happy with our heroes, warning them not to follow when he carried Surge away. The two embark on their next plan after Surge wakes up, Kit cooling her down from a panic attack and Surge giving him some assurances necessitated by his insecurity. I really like this scene because it feels to me like the characters, Surge in particular, finally get a sense of solidarity with their situations. They're in the thick of it together, true friends made from the worst of circumstances. It all boils down to another huge fight at the abandoned Starline base, with some great back and forth about what Starline did doesn't justify their actions in breaking free from the cycle, but Surge can't bring herself to do so, seeing Sonic's pleas as empty ploys for pity and friendship. Kit's much the same, accusing Sonic of being no better than Eggman when he saves her from the Doctor's attempt to take her prisoner, fleeing afterward. We next see the two holed up in an abandoned base and running low on resources, when they're visited by Clutch the Possum. Clutch offers them information on their background in exchange for their services, a plot point that could have gone somewhere interesting, but the comic completely forgets after this scene. Surge and Kit start by feigning remorse and looking for forgiveness at Restoration HQ, where they meet and buddy up with Amy, who gets Surge thinking for the first time that they truly are free to make their own path. Once the clean sweepstakes begin, the pair do Clutch's dirty work under the threat of fucking nothing now that the writers abandoned the truth of their origins thing, despite how that'd logically be the only thing keeping them from beating his ass, until an encounter with Sonic as the Phantom Rider has the crowd cheering for them, with a little girl in particular mentioning how Surge is her personal hero. Being shown genuine appreciation for the first time has the Tenrec-Fennec duo rethink their ways, vowing to become true heroes the right way. Clutch, again with basically nothing backing up his threats, keeps them under his control so long as the Phantom Rider is still around, which frustrates the Tenrec until Kit tells her he has a plan to win their freedom. Surge promptly exposes Sonic to the world as the Phantom Rider, freeing her and Kit of any obligation to Clutch and giving him a big public fuck you to go along with it. Once the climactic fight goes down, Surge shocks the living hell out of Clutch in the Extreme Gear mech, making no attempt to spare Sonic from the attack as well. After it's over, she tells the Hedgehog to stay alive because she wants him in a fair fight, and my god, what a great way to firmly establish her as an anti-hero. Surge finally saw the good in doing good, but still does things by her own rules, everyone else be damned. Their next chronological appearance is in the 2024 annual, where Surge is finding it hard to be a hero while not receiving the same appreciation they got at the clean sweepstakes, especially after being negatively compared to Sonic. Kit, after a conversation about taking out their rivals in Eggman, begins to plot something. If they succeed in taking out Eggman, there won't be anyone left to fight. He plots to himself to create problems for Surge to solve so she can feel good about being a hero, and this here, along with those moments where he snapped before, I think makes Kit potentially the more dangerous of the two. This kid is damaged, and this little scheme shows just how sinister he can be if left to his own devices. Surge and Kit, again, are two of the best written characters in the franchise thus far into their run. Their battle dealing with trauma, their obsession, dependency, insecurities, and everything I think is something a lot of people can relate to, and they show just how messed up it can be when the cycle of abuse is repeated, taking things way too far. So when Surge sees the light and genuinely wants to be a good person, it feels like a victory as a reader. It's legit long-term storytelling that the comic had truly lacked over the years and, Clutch's disappearing blackmail aside, has been the best thing about it by an immeasurable amount. I sincerely wish the rest of the story post-Metal Virus was this good. But, considering what we've seen with the development of these two, and especially with Kit's little plan, I am excited to see where it all goes. Can you imagine these two going in opposite directions to the point they have to fight? The potential for something even more awesome than what we've already gotten is tremendous. Their next appearance is coming soon, and I cannot wait to know what happens with them. Thanks for watching. Feel free to let me know what you thought about the video in the comments. Give it a like if you liked it, or a dislike if you didn't. If you'd like to see more, subscribe and click the bell for notifications. It's free and you can opt out anytime. Here's a playlist with similar content, and my Twitter. I have been Skull902, thank you again for watching, and have yourselves a wonderful day. Is it just me, or is she enjoying being zapped way too much? If any of you out there are wondering why I don't use my fancier microphones more often, this is it. and the former trying to convince Surge that freedom and helping people out are pretty cool things in a speech that got severely overblown by one section of the fanbase, but again, I was running out of breath.